Karl Malone's basketball legacy stands as one of the most statistically dominant careers the sport has ever witnessed: 36,928 points, 2 MVP awards, 14 All-Star selections, an Olympic gold medal with the 1992 Dream Team, and a Hall of Fame induction that cemented his place among the game's immortals. But alongside that celebrated resume runs a far darker story, one the NBA spent 4 decades quietly burying. A story involving a crime committed against a 13-year-old girl when Malone was 20 years old, a son he denied and abandoned, and a reckoning that a new generation of players and fans is now refusing to let go. In August 2025, former NBA guard Patrick Beverley was seated on the set of his podcast, the Pat Bev Podcast with Ran, alongside co-host Adam "Ran" Ferroni, doing what they did every week, debating basketball and running through lively hypotheticals. They were deep into an all-time NBA redraft when Malone's name surfaced, and Beverley responded the way any informed basketball mind would. "I think he's top 20 greatest players to play. Top 20 greatest of all time." It was a perfectly reasonable opinion. Malone is the second highest scorer in NBA history, a 2-time MVP, and a defining figure of the league's golden era. But Ran had a follow-up question that was about to change everything. What about his off-the-court stuff? Does that factor in at all? Beverley's face registered nothing but genuine confusion. Just a blank, curious expression from a man who truly had no idea what his co-host was referencing. And then, in 6 flat words, Ran delivered the kind of information that stops a room cold. He got a 13-year-old pregnant. The studio fell completely silent. Beverley's mouth dropped open, his relaxed podcast energy instantly replaced by stunned stillness. His mind searched desperately for any mitigating detail. Was he 16? The answer offered no comfort. Malone had been 20 years old. "That doesn't seem cool to me," Beverley said quietly, in perhaps the most profound understatement the moment could contain. That clip spread with extraordinary speed, accumulating over 1.58 million views on YouTube alone, with millions more circulating across TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit. As Ran filled in the remaining details that the child, a boy named Demetris Bell, grew up entirely without Malone, went on to play in the NFL, and described his own conception by saying his mother might as well have visited a sperm bank. Beverley looked like a man watching his childhood heroes crumble before his eyes. The information was court-verified, DNA confirmed, and had been sitting in the public record for over 40 years. "I didn't even know this," Beverley said, visibly shaken. From a 12-year NBA veteran. If a man who spent over a decade inside the league had never heard a whisper of it, the question became impossible to avoid. How deliberately had this story been kept out of sight? Weeks before that podcast aired, another shockwave had already moved through the basketball world, this one delivered without a single spoken word. On July 25, 2025, Karl Malone's 62nd birthday, the official NBA account posted a routine tribute on X. "Happy 62nd birthday to 14x All-Star, 2x MVP, the Mailman." San Antonio Spurs phenom Victor Wembanyama, 21 years old, one of the most universally admired young stars in the sport, saw the post and responded by simply reposting a fan's reply. A 12-second clip of content creator Lil Rodney's son reacting with pure, unfiltered disgust, declaring that Malone needed to be under the jail. Wembanyama added not a single word of his own. He didn't need to. Reddit erupted immediately. Between Beverley's raw on-air reckoning and Wembanyama's wordless cosign, the message from the new generation was thunderous. "We know what Karl Malone did, and we are done pretending it doesn't matter." Malone was born in 1963 in the tiny rural community of Summerfield, Louisiana. He grew up in poverty, lost his father to suicide as a young boy, and described himself as a bullied, scrawny kid whose dream had nothing to do with basketball. He wanted to fly Harrier jets for the Marines. He used to tell his mother he would one day buzz their little country store from the cockpit and land in the field right behind it. Basketball intervened. A scholarship to Louisiana Tech transformed him into a 6 feet 9 inches, 250-plus pound force of nature, and the Utah Jazz selected him 13th overall in the 1985 NBA draft. For 19 consecutive seasons, Malone became the most durable and consistent power forward the league had ever seen, earning 2 MVP awards, 14 All-Star appearances, Olympic gold, and 36,928 career points. That is the Karl Malone the NBA erected statues to honor, whose jersey it raised to the rafters, and whose name it placed in Springfield. But in 1983, before any of that, Malone was a 20-year-old sophomore at Louisiana Tech, already a rising campus star, when he impregnated a 13-year-old girl named Gloria Bell in the same small Summerfield community where he had grown up. Gloria was in the 8th grade. The result was a son, Demetris Bell, born May 3, 1984. Under Louisiana law, both then and now, the age of consent is 17. Malone was 20. Gloria was 13. There is no gray area. What occurred was statutory rape. And yet no criminal charges were ever filed. Gloria's family made the agonizing decision not to pursue prosecution because Malone was already well known locally, and they believed his future wealth could provide for the child. They pursued a civil paternity lawsuit instead, and Malone's response to that extraordinary act of mercy was to deny paternity entirely. He contested the suit, refused DNA testing, and was held in contempt of court. When testing was finally completed, it returned a 99.06% probability that he was the father. He settled for a lump sum and roughly $125 per week in child support, from a man who would go on to earn over $100 million in NBA salary. When Demetris grew up and reached out to the man whose DNA he carried, Malone reportedly told him it was too late for a father-son relationship and that he would have to make his own way. Too late, as though fatherhood has an expiration date. Against every conceivable odd, Demetris Bell built something extraordinary from that abandonment. He grew up in Summerfield with his mother and siblings, attended a high school so small it had no football team, played college basketball at Northwestern State, then transitioned to football, moving to left tackle, a position he had never played, after injuries devastated the offensive line. In his senior year, with just 3 years of organized football experience, he earned All-Conference and All-Louisiana honors. The Buffalo Bills drafted him in the 7th round in 2008, and he played 5 NFL seasons as an offensive tackle, one of the only players in modern history to reach the league without high school football. When asked about his father by ESPN's Jemele Hill that same year, his answer has been quoted for nearly 2 decades. "I treated it as if my mother went to the sperm bank. I don't hate him for not being in my life. It made me a better person. Grace over bitterness. A man defined not by who his father was, but by who his father chose not to be." The story did not end in permanent estrangement. Around 2014, the two reportedly reconnected through a hunting trip, and by 2018, Demetris described a relationship in which they spoke and texted nearly every day. Malone publicly acknowledged his failure, stating, "I didn't handle it right. I was wrong. Father time is the biggest thief out there, and you can't get that back." In 2023, Demetris stood alongside Malone at the unveiling of a Louisiana Tech statue, an event that drew significant protests. As of 2026, they remain on good terms by all available accounts. But a reconciled father-son relationship does not erase what was done to a 13-year-old girl in 1983, and Malone has never issued a direct public apology to Gloria Bell. The NBA's continued celebration of Malone is what transforms a historical horror into present-day outrage. As recently as March 2026, the Karl Malone Power Forward of the Year award was still being presented in college basketball. His statue still stands. His jersey remains retired. The league posted his birthday tribute as though nothing in the public record gave any reason to pause. Critics point to the NFL's treatment of Michael Irvin, dropped from NFL Network over a single unproven harassment allegation, and find the contrast impossible to defend. The NBA kept celebrating a man against whom DNA-confirmed proof exists. That word that sports writers spent 4 decades euphemizing around, rape, is the word this generation has stopped avoiding. Karl Malone's basketball resume is beyond dispute. So is his personal legacy. A 20-year-old who committed statutory rape against a child, denied his own son, offered nothing but $125 a week from a 9-figure fortune, and when confronted about it publicly in 2023, responded with, "That's my personal life. Whatever. That single word contains everything you need to know about whether any genuine reckoning has taken place. No Hall of Fame plaque, no points record, and no birthday post from the league's official account changes the arithmetic of what happened in Summerfield, Louisiana. Until the day Malone offers something more than whatever, the mailman's darkest delivery remains the only package anyone truly wants to discuss.